Welcome to Front Office Pros. Today, what are we going through our Week 6 trade targets? Joe and I are each going to provide a case as to why you should go ahead and trade for this player. So, Joe, I'll give you the first honors. Who is the player that you got your eye on?
Yeah, the player I have my eye on here for this week is wide receiver DK Metcalf for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know, Steve, you're probably surprised when I said I was going to talk about this guy because I haven't
I'm very
been
surprised.
known to
You
be
don't
the.
have to wonder. I'm very surprised here.
Yeah, well, I figured as much. I mean, I haven't been the biggest DK Metcalf supporter. I'm not necessarily part of his fan club, but the thing of it is here, he has the third best wide receiver strength of the schedule the rest of the season. And, saw a glimpse. He had that nice long touchdown in the last game before the bye week. And I really do think having the bye week could help him. And before we get to see him come out in week 6, that's why I think now could be the time to go ahead and buy him, because talking about Aaron Rodgers, who signed late in the offseason, DK Metcalf also getting traded, working with a new team, trying to get familiar with Arthur Smith's system. I just think there was a lot of newness and just could take a little bit for him and Rodgers to acclimate. But you see the last 3 games, he's had a touchdown. Like I mentioned, I mean, he was 5 for 5, 126, and a touchdown in his last game, had that long 80-yard touchdown reception. But that is the explosiveness that DK Metcalf can also provide. Rodgers is trying to hit him on a lot of slant routes. There's not a ton of obviously the whole reason for drafting DK Metcalf this year was he was going to potentially get target volume. There's no other receivers, really to compete with him there. Kelvin Austin has been there here and there, but no true mainstay. The tight end position really hasn't done too much. It's really just been DK Metcalf, and I think the target volume, as people expected, could pick up, especially with these juicier matchups. And looking at the Draft Sharks trade value chart, that's what I was kind of surprised at. I mean, he's listed as 29. I mean, that's with guys like Jordan Addison, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, Ricky Pearsall, even Lad McConkey's at 30, just ahead of him. You got a guy like Devonta Smith at 32. Looking at some of the running backs, I mean, got Scattaboo and ETN at 29 and 31, respectively. And so I do think for the cost that you might have to take the chance, I mean, out of all those receivers, I mean, I would rather have DK Metcalf than those receivers that I rattled off there. So I think now would be the time to go ahead and buy DK before he potentially has another big week in week 6. I don't think people necessarily believed his week 4 performance and might be looking to sell him.
I can't believe what I'm hearing, honestly. You, of all people, telling others to buy DK Metcalf, he really must have convinced you. I think it's interesting. I mean, I've always been a DK guy. I drafted him in almost every one of my leagues. So I'm curious to hear about this. I may have to see if you're interested in acquiring him, put your money where your mouth is to acquire said DK Metcalf. But I will say, with the Draft Sharks trade value chart, which we, reference a lot in this episode, or in this series, I should say, I think it's low. I really do.
Yeah.
Compared to those other guys, he hasn't really garnered the target share that I was expecting him to get. He's really been getting like 5, 6, 7 targets, and you hope he gets a touchdown. But coming out of the bye, and like you said, with the matchups coming forward, I do think that he could become more and more involved. Every time you hear Rodgers saying, I got to give him the ball more, I got to give him the ball more. So they're only going to develop more chemistry as time goes on here. So, and you're right, there's not really Calvin Austin, got banged up. Not sure if he'll be healthy or not this week, but regardless, there just really aren't a lot of options in that Pittsburgh Steelers offense. So I think it makes sense. And I think that you're right in the fact that if you're going to trade for him, if you're a DK manager here, you had him, he was on a bye week. He had that exciting 80-yard touchdown. But after that, if he didn't get that, you were extremely disappointed.
Yeah.
So it's like, as a DK manager, would I trade him? Yeah, I would. If somebody, depending on who they reached out, I would trade him. So, and I'm probably higher than most. So if you're not, unless they're like this ultra Steelers fan who's just not on planet Earth and thinks that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl and DK Metcalf is going to do all these amazing things, blah 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 blah, and Aaron Rodgers is going to turn the clock back, then okay, then don't even bother. But I think that you could possibly get DK Metcalf. I think we try to talk about players that actually could possibly be people that you could acquire. And I think he's one of them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was just more so just surprised with those other receivers that he's currently ranked with. Like telling me a guy like DJ Moore, him and DK Metcalf for the same value. Like I would way rather have DK Metcalf than DJ Moore at this point. Another guy who's just been really disappointing, but it just DJ Moore's getting favored by Roma Dunze. That situation can't happen in Pittsburgh.
All right, so my trade target is gonna be Bill Jacory Croskey-Merritt, or Bill Croskey-Merritt of the Washington Commanders. And the Washington Commanders backfield has been more so of a timeshare. We've been seeing multiple running backs get involved, and there was thought as to whether or not Bill Croskey-Merritt would end up being the guy. We're hearing so much in the preseason. The buzz was off the charts, so much so that they traded Brian Robinson. Everybody and their brother wanted him. He's been slow out of the gate, but most recently, I think people were pretty excited. I mean, his efficiency is off the chart. He played a season high in snaps, only 47%. So he's not really getting that much playing time. But he had 14 carries, 111 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns, and 2 catches for 39 yards. Now, he did lose a fumble, which is not good for him. But I really like his matchups going forward here. I mean, they should do well against the Bears. He's got Dallas. He's got Miami. Miami's an absolute sieve. And you've got Dallas on championship week. So it's like, there's some really decent matchups for Bill Croskey-Merritt. And if you look at the trade value chart over at Draft Sharks, I mean, he's only 26. I mean, you're telling me I could trade a DJ Moore or Jacoby Myers or Jamison Williams in order to acquire him? That seems kind of crazy to me, but I definitely would certainly consider it. Even they're saying, possibly Kyle Pitts type of figure could be close. I think that's kind of nuts. Running back wise, it's kind of tough, but Chase Brown's an interesting name right now. Especially with the Joe Flacco trade news, and people are like, oh, now Chase Brown might be good. I'd be trading Chase Brown to get Bill Croskey-Merritt. I think he's only going to get more involved. His efficiency is just off the charts. And if he does, then you really made out. So, that manager who has it in the back of their head saying maybe he's only going to get 47% of the snaps. And that's a problem. So he can be electric with those carries. So it's not the end all be all. But I think just based on the price, he hasn't taken off yet. We've seen guys like Quinshon Judkins. In my mind, he's taken off. His value is now, far greater than what it was a few weeks ago. It's not there yet for Croskey-Merritt. And so to me, he's a guy I would target.
Yeah, I do think he's interesting. Especially like you said, if he's going to, last week it was really when he got most of the volume, especially if that trend continues, because just the week before, it was an absolute 3-headed monster. They all pretty much shared equal snaps and just an absolute disaster and complete avoid. But if he's going to start getting like that lead back treatment and getting the opportunities, I mean, it looks like to be a slam dunk pick.
Well,
just try, it's kind of circling back on your Quinshon Judkins there. Like if you didn't listen to Steve suggesting the trade for him a couple of weeks ago, I mean, his value's already skyrocketed to 45. So Croskey-Merritt's at 26. I do think, now would definitely be the time to buy him if people are looking to sell high off of the one performance, because I do think this could be. I mean, how could Washington possibly see his explosiveness and just the way he's, like you said, his efficiency and everything on top of it, and not just choose to give I think they would have to. It would be a detriment to their offense to not give this guy the ball and then instead give it to, Jeremy McNichols and Chris Rodriguez, who have not done. I mean, I know McNichols had the one long run, that one game for a touchdown, but other than that, he's been pretty lackluster.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, especially with Terry McLaurin, who's been out, you just don't have a lot of spice in that offense. They need some type of juice. He provides that. And I would say don't be alarmed here. I mean, and when I say this, I'm referring to the Woody Marks situation. you and I both thought that Woody Marks, especially with the way D'Amico Ryans was talking, we thought that he was, be the
D'Amico
guy
Ryans is a
now.
liar.
I guess he is.
Don't
But
trust him.
and we haven't necessarily seen that at Dan Quinn, to my knowledge, that they've asked about that he's saying it. But, I'm just believing that this is an investment that you're making. You're not expecting that investment to be returned to you by week 6, week 7, week 8. This is a long-term investment. In my mind, you're thinking by week 13, 14, 15, 16, Croskey-Merritt is now fully integrated in the offense. He is the guy, and you'll be happy that you got him. So, if you do go get him and he stinks, by week 6 or week 7, week 8, you say, Steve, what are you doing? You told me to go get this guy. Hey, not so fast, right? I think he could develop over time. And, you actually recently brought up Travion Henderson. I think he kind of fits that same bill, but I'm a little more nervous with him. I don't understand what's going. It's like Vrabel doesn't like him. I don't understand. Now, Antonio Gibson going on IR kind of helps him by default because who else is it going to be? So he's kind of now thrusted into that role. Otherwise, I don't know. It might have been Antonio Gibson or Minor Stevenson. There's been a little bit more glimmer of hope with a guy like Bill Croskey-Merritt.
Yeah, I still think Henderson, even if Gibson was going to be healthy, still by the end of the season, like you're saying, like these rookies might disappoint you for the first half of the season, but you really get them for the second half and they could potentially be league winners for you. The one thing, even with Gibson out, that is a little scary for Henderson is just it looks like Ramondre Stevenson's going to get the goal line work, even despite how many times he fumbles. It just doesn't seem to matter. Vrabel's going to go with the wily veteran. Just seems to be the way it is and just the way it's been for the Patriots. But it looks like, at least the Commanders, as long as they stick to last week, I know, like you said, the Houston Texans did not, it was a 60-40 split for Woody Marks. Then now they went right back to Nick Chubb. I don't think that would happen with the Commanders. At least I'm hopeful that it doesn't for all the Bill Croskey-Merritt owners out there, because it just doesn't make any sense.
Now, I don't know if you agree with me. I would rather have Bill Croskey-Merritt rest of the season over Travion Henderson.
It's interesting. Yeah, I could see that. I think he's got less.
It's very close on the trade value chart. They would agree. If Henderson as an 18 and Croskey-Merritt as a 26.
Yeah. And Commanders do have a juicy schedule. I know the Patriots do. As well, but the Commanders are still definitely better. And like you said, that championship week against the Cowboys is a game changer too.
So that does it for this episode. We went through our week 6 trade targets. Joe and I provided one each. So we'd recommend that you reach out to whoever it is that has that player and start those trade talks. If you haven't done so already, check out our most recent episode. If you like IDP, we did some waiver wire pickups that we think that you should go out and add. If you want to check that out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time.